Hey teachers, today I'm going to go over chalk and what to expect when you start your new lesson planner. Let's dive right in. So the way to access chalk is actually very simple. You don't need a new login for it. It's done all through PowerSchool. So up at the top right, I've got a little 3x3 grid. I'm just going to click that. Currently, I'm in enrollment, and I'm just going to pick curriculum and instruction. It's going to open up a new tab and bring you right to chalk. So this is going to be your new launch page. Pretty easy just to navigate straight from there. As soon as you've got some lesson plans set up and everything, you're going to notice that this little section right here, where it says no more lessons today, is going to show your classes throughout the day. So if I had a class coming up at 1 o'clock, it would show me that class. So let's say it's 8th grade ELA. I would see all my plans for the 8th grade ELA class. So it's nice and easy to access. But to go ahead and get started, I'm going to go into lessons. This is really how you're going to get to your lesson planner. And it's kind of going to be your homepage. You can see I've had some classes in previously since I've been playing around with this. Yours probably will show up completely blank. It might even make you start a new semester right away. If it doesn't prompt you to do that, a couple different ways you can do it. There's this little timetable button up at the top right. I'm going to click timetable, and then you have semesters up at the left. If you click semesters, you can see previous years once you have them in, and you can hit add semester to make a new one. Name it whatever you'd like. Pick your first and your last day of class. Once you've got some lesson plans in, you can copy from a previous semester or you can start a brand new one. Since this is a new year and it's the first year we're doing it, I'm going to have to start a brand new one. Pick any of the days you're teaching. So if you're a part-time teacher who doesn't teach on Monday and Friday, you can unselect Monday, Friday. I'm just going to pick all 5 to kind of show you some different things you can play with. And I'm going to hit create. So it brings you straight into your created class as soon as you have your semester in, but it also lets you import your classes straight from Google Classroom. So I'm going to hit import classes and pick Google Classroom. Any class that's not archived is going to show up in your list here. So you can see I've already imported these into a different semester. It recognizes if it's from a previous year, it won't let you select it. But you can pick and choose whichever classes you want. As soon as you have those selected, you hit OK. Fantastic part, you get to change the color of the classes to be whatever you'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and hit import. Now I can see they're on the list on the left if there's another time that I'd like to add, a class that you wouldn't necessarily have on Google Classroom, but you'd like to add in. I always used to like having my prep period listed in my plan, so I do the non-teaching period for that. And it kind of just shows you a little bit different of a view if it's a non-teaching period. So you notice these classes are fully colored in. Any non-teaching time is going to just be outlined in the color you pick. So nice, easy way to glance at. So if I want to go ahead and add my homeroom, I can do that as a non-teaching period, have my homeroom, and create. Now we have to schedule them. So there's always 2 different ways at least that you can do things through chalk. It's just picking which one works better for you. You can either drag and drop a class, so you can see it goes by 5-minute intervals. If my class starts at 9 and goes till 9:45, there's even a nice little drop down that I can pick and choose how long it's going to be. Otherwise, if it starts at a little bit different of a time, if it's not that 5-minute interval, you're going to have to do it a little bit differently. So this is the second way you do this. Over on the right of your class, you see a schedule button. You're just going to go ahead and put in the time. So let's say I start at 8:57 a.m. It defaults, because I've played with this before. My classes used to be 41-minute periods. It defaults to that amount of time. So it recognizes the timetable that you last put in. So I've experimented with 45 minutes, 41 minutes. 45 happened to be the last one that I did. So it defaulted to that 45. If I were to change this and make it 38, I can pick exactly which days I'm teaching it. So let's say Wednesday's a different date. I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule. And now you can see it's in there. Notice it didn't take away this first day. You remember how I dragged it, I dropped it? It doesn't get rid of that. If I want to delete it, just hit the X, gone, good to go. I'm going to go ahead then and schedule this second class. I'm going to pick the start time as 10 o'clock. And like I said, you see how it defaults to that 41 minutes because that's what I last used. I can pick the days I'm teaching it, hit schedule, and it's automatically there for me. If you drag and drop, you're not going to be able to schedule it over multiple days. I can't, just drag this to each of the days and have it just go. It's easiest if it's a week-long class to use the schedule button on the side. You can drag and drop, but it is entirely up to you. A little bit different too, you'll notice that there's a Save Changes button up at the top. If I, after making all these edits to my schedule, try to go back in semesters, there's going to be a little pop-up window here that says I have unsaved changes. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I don't want to lose the changes. All you have to do is hit save. And then we're good to go. If I go back to my planner, so if you notice the Wednesday through Friday of this week that I'm recording this, you see other lessons. It's because I played with this a little bit with different semesters. But you can see the tech class that I put in, the test class, and then this is where you're going to be doing all of your lesson planning. So you can change the view. So it's either day view, you just see the one, scroll through as you will. You could see the week view, which is typically what I prefer. You can also do month if you'd like to see something at a glance. This is especially good for seeing units. As you can see, there's got some color coding going on already. Spoiler alert. But I'm going to go back to week. Like I said, that's my preferred view. I'm going to go back to this week, and I'm going to schedule a lesson. So as you hover over a lesson, you're going to see add content, or if it's the first time you're setting up the class, you're going to see choose template. I'm going to go ahead and do the template first. So Chalk is a little bit different than Planbook in that it doesn't have, predetermined sections that you guys have to do. You can really customize this and make it your own. So those pieces that you have to hit for lesson planning, your objectives, the lesson itself, the assessment you're going to do, the faith integration, whatever your principal has in place, you can make that template with everything in it. So I can either select a template. Like I said, I've been playing with this. You see I've got a few. But if you go to Manage Templates, there's a wonderful little plus button up at the top right that I'm going to hit. And this is going to be your new one. I'm just going to call this semester so I don't get it mixed up with anything else. If I have my objectives, I could even put my students will be able to in there and do the lesson itself and just put a little placeholder. Faith integration with a placeholder. And assessments with a placeholder. I can go ahead and make anything bold or change the font or the color. Anything you'd like to do, go ahead and do this. So if I want to make my objectives red, if I want to make my lesson green, faith integration gold, and assessments purple, couple of clicks and I had it all customized. I am not going to put in a section for standards because I'm going to show you in a little bit there's an easy way to put in standards and you don't have to include it in your template. I'm going to go ahead and hit assign to classes. Good to note, this template, once you've assigned it to classes, it will assign them to every single day that the class is scheduled. So if this is a week-long class that you have scheduled for the rest of the school year, it's automatically going to be on every single one of them. So I'm going to hit assign to classes. I'm going to pick this semester, and I'm going to assign it to my test class. Once I close, I go back. To get back to your planner, you go lessons up at the top. You can pick between day or week. Like I said, I like week, so I'm going to do that. And if I go to today, you can see that my template has been inserted in these classes. So now the only option I have is to add content. I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And you're going to notice it looks very similar to that template editor. You would just change the text as you will. So if I'm going to be doing a lesson on adjectives, I'm going to say students will be able to identify adjectives, etc., etc. If I'm doing chapter 3, lesson 1, intro to adjectives, faith integration, etc., assessments, I'm going to put them in here. But it is entirely editable. So if there's a day where you're not doing one of these things because maybe you have a star test for that class, I can also just delete it. is good to note. If you ever make a mistake, you got rid of something that you didn't want to, there's a little undo button, always my best friend. And once you've done with any changes, you can go ahead and hit save. Now you'll notice all of my content is right here. I'm going to click back into it, and there's a couple more things that I want to show you for this. So there is a little button to directly import something from Google Drive. It just brings up a normal Google login window for you so you can access anything from Google Drive. You can also upload an attachment if you have a PDF saved or anything like that. But then you're also going to see standards. So you can see I haven't added any standards yet. I'm going to hit Browse Standards. It's good to note that at the time I'm recording this, the diocese is still working on adding our standards into. So for now, you might have to just copy paste. For showcasing purposes, I'm just going to pick Common Core. So you can see it's got all of the 6th grade ELA standards in there. If I want to pick for these standards, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the plus next to whichever apply to this lesson and hit save. Then you can see they're all at the bottom, wonderfully added for me. The other nice thing about Chalk is that you can actually share lesson plans between teachers. So if I hit this share button, you're going to have a folder of resources, essentially, that you can give people access to. So if you did want this to be in there, so if I do want to share it with somebody who's at my school, I can just start typing their name and then click on their email as soon as it pops up, hit share, and they will have access to it. If I want to tag it as, 6th grade, or I want to make it adjectives, ELA, etc., etc., you just put a comma in between each one, and then you'll hit share. You can also print your lesson plans from here, so if you prefer to do that, you could hit print or PDF. It's going to pull up your preview. You can pick portrait landscape, you can pick everything in there, etc., and hit create PDF to print that off. If you ever need to move the lesson plan, so I put this on Wednesday, let's say I want to move it to Thursday, there are options you can choose from. I'm going to hit move lesson, pick my calendar date of Thursday, pick which class I want it to go to, and hit move. Can't be reversed. If there is anything on the day you're moving it to, it will override it, so just before you move it, double check, make sure that there's nothing there. I know I have nothing there since I just created this class. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Now you can see my Wednesday class is blank again. It just went back to the template. But now if I scroll down on Thursday, you can see my adjective class right there. I'm going to go back up to the top. You probably noticed as soon as I logged in, I have these little yellow sticky notes up at the top. So if there's something you need to do and you want to remind yourself, if permission slips are going home, I'm going to put permission slips go home on Friday. I'm going to put email newsletter. If I could spell, that'd be great. And all you do is, you don't even have to save. It's nice and easy. It just remembers it for you. If I go back to my dashboard, so if I want to hit curriculum and instruction up here, take me back to my dashboard. You see there's also a sticky note right here. If I wanted to add it in for the day, I could say permission slips, etc., etc. And if I go back, then you can see it's added. So since it is the 10th when I'm recording this, if I wanted to say send email to parents, just to kind of remind myself, I'm going to go back to my home page because there's also a sticky note there, and it loads all of your notes for the day. So whatever you need to do, you can kind of just make a little list if you need to, etc., etc. Second thing here, nice and easy. Any view you go to for the day, you're going to see that nice sticky note with all your notes updated. So nice way to plan ahead and just kind of have a nice little visual right as soon as you log in. I'm going to go back to next week since that's where I put the classes. And then I'm going to show you units. So you see you have my day, week, my month, but there's also a unit button. If I go ahead and click units, you can pick, exactly which semester you're working with. I'm going to pick this current one, and I'm going to go to my test class. I don't have any units, but it's going to pull up all the days that you have class scheduled for, and you're going to see a little unit plus button. If you would like to make units to kind of just easily color code when you're looking at the month view, then you can see here's exactly how long it takes me for certain units when you're planning it out. You can hit on no units and add a new unit from there. I'm going to say this is unit number 1. And I used to do a Narnia unit with some of my kids, so I'm going to name it Narnia. I can pick whatever color I'd like, hit create, and now I have a unit. So if you have specific files that you want to access with this unit, you can add them straight from Drive, you can upload them, but kind of just to make it easiest to grab these really quickly when you're actually writing the lesson plans, done, good to go, quick. So I'm going to hit from Google Drive, I'm going to sign in, and this is exactly what you're going to see as you're logging in. It's going to default as whatever was last modified by you. So sort options over on the right, I'm going to pick name because that's how I like it. I'm going to go into my class, I'm going to pick my folder, and I'm going to pick all of my resources. So to select a couple, I'm clicking on the first one, hold shift and click the last one. If there's one that you don't want in, let's say I don't want this unit test to be in there, I can hold control and then click the rest. Hit select once you're satisfied. And I think the limit that I was kind of messing around with, I think was about 8 or 9 as the top number that you can have. You can also choose the standards that are going to go with it. So you notice it defaulted me back to the grade 6 Common Core because that's what I was last in. As soon as we have the Grace ones in there, it'll default back to that for you once you've added it. I'm going to pick all of them that go with this and then hit save once I'm satisfied. I'm going to go back to lessons because you assign the unit to the class day. So if I started teaching this lesson on Thursday, I'm going to hit unit plus and choose Narnia. And if I'm continuing it on Friday, I'm going to do the same thing. So now when I go back to my weekly plans and I go back to this week, on Thursday, Friday, you see my little green unit button. If I hover over it, it says Narnia. When I edit it, now I have unit content on the bottom right that I can click on. You see those 4 documents that I attached. I've got the standards all up here. If I hover over them, they show me exactly what they say. And you know what? This first one, we're going to do a compare contrast. And now you see it is here. The standards don't really do anything besides just kind of stay in this spot. But it's nice to know at a glance when you're accessing it, I can hit unit content and I know these are being covered. So I don't have to, add them individually to every lesson. I have them covered for the entire unit. Talk to your principals with it. It depends on how they'd like to see it. But it is an option if they are inclined to let you. I would probably still suggest putting them here, but if you can't remember which one it is, you can very quickly see RL 6.1, 6.2, 6.4, and I could go ahead and add them from here. But it's kind of nice when you're planning out your unit to know here's exactly what I'm teaching. Again, once I've made a change, I'm going to hit save. If you tried to back out of this and go back into edit content, that change is still there. So if I did this and added this, if I don't hit save, I go back out, you notice it's still saved. So not the end of the world if you forget to hit save, but it is just good practice and it minimizes your window. You can see now I also have a little, set of icons. You see I have 5 standards attached to this lesson and I also have 1 file attached. So it's a nice way at a glance to just see what standards do I have, what file do I have, all good to go. If you don't like looking at the lesson plan this way, like actually having to hit into the class to see exactly what you're teaching, I'd recommend going to day because then you can kind of put your cursor over on the right and see it highlighted a little bit better. So I went ahead and added a class. It's going to be in about 6 minutes, 5 minutes-ish. I'm going to go back to the home page. And now you can see my class. I get a little pop-up button that says my next class is this one. It's in 5 minutes. And I can see all the lesson plans right here. If I want to edit it, I can edit it straight from here. Hit my add content, change as I will, save, and I'm done, good to go. I can always access my dashboard from the top left and see. I touched on it a little bit, but this resources section for you is really where you can make anything publicly available for your group, so your school. You can see because I'm in my admin account, I have access to, multiple groups. But when you hit my resources, you're going to see everything that you've created. If you see everything, you'll see anything you've done, anything other teachers have opened up. You can see the all types. There's lesson plans, there's lesson groups. And you can also choose shared with me. So if a teacher directly shares it with you, but doesn't open it up for everybody else, you can just say shared with me. They will show up here. You'll be able to sort them by who created it, who last edited it, or by the name. Once you're in and making lesson plans, your principals do have access to this. They can also leave you lesson feedback. So if they write a comment on one of your lessons, you'll get an email notification with the message and also just, letting you know that you have the feedback listed. To access it, you're going to go to lessons and lesson feedback. So when you have your lessons, you're going to see, I can click on this. And this is exactly what the link will take you to in the email. But you'd see the feedback right here. So if I say, great job, just fill in more, since it's pretty much empty, I can send the feedback and then it would show up just like a comment on here. I can also look at the details, when I taught it, when I last updated it, if there was, something I added later on. And then if I'm the one leaving the feedback or commenting back, I can upload the file from there. That's been a dive into Chalk. If there's any assistance you need, please feel free, put in a help desk ticket and we will help you out. But I think as soon as you guys are in this and customizing it, you guys are going to love it. Have a good one.